Alright besties, this is not a drill. I have the ARC of Katabasis by R.F. Kuang, aka my most anticipated read of the year. How did I get this, you might be asking? Girl, I do not know. Your guess is as good as mine. Why me? Also, again, don't know. But what I do know is that me and you and I, will be reading it all day today, just to see if Miss Kuang is still top 2, not 2 for me. I have a feeling she absolutely will be. I do not doubt this woman one bit, but we do have to read it and find out ourselves. So let's go. Okay, we just made it to my favorite reading spot and it is gorgeous. Because it's spring, all the flowers have bloomed and it's literally like a magical paradise. I don't know if it fits the vibe of Katabasis because I do know that Katabasis is more of a like kind of dark academia vibe, but it's fine. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun still. And I wanna get out here before it starts raining because it's been raining off and on all day, but I've been in the house all day. So I really wanna like just get out and breathe a little bit of fresh air.
A few moments later.
Okay, just kidding. As soon as we went outside, it started raining. Love that for us, but we don't give up. Never back down, never what?
That you had.
Yeah, so because of that, we're gonna sit in the car and we're gonna wait out Mother Nature, okay? She doesn't know how stubborn I can be. I wanna read outside, gosh darn it, so we're gonna read outside. Oh, let me look in. Oh, let me walk in. It finally stopped raining, so let's see if we can read for a second. It does say it's gonna rain again in 10 minutes, but I just wanna go outside. We've been reading inside this car for like an hour and it's time to get some fresh air. We're literally right here. Let me go outside. Oh, there are people outside. Anyway. Officially 50 pages in, and are we surprised that she did not disappoint? No, we are not surprised. This is so interesting. This is about a girl who goes to Cambridge right now. She studies magic and something happens to her professor and she has to go to hell to go get him, and we're following that adventure and her trying to figure out what happened and how she can fix this mistake and things like that, and it's really, really interesting. What I realize right now that I really enjoy is the fact that R.F. Kuang is breaking the fourth wall. She brings the reader into the audience, into the discussion, and she's talking to you almost as if you're there, and she seamlessly slips into like that type of dialogue and then back into the story. So I feel like I'm almost investigating what happened too, and I feel like she's thinking about my thoughts, and then the things that you would come up with as the reader, she talks about too, as if you said it, and it just makes you like an additional party, an additional character to the story, and I'm loving that so far. And it's very witty, as we predicted. It's starting to rain. It's very witty, as we predicted, and the characters are so lovable. I'm really enjoying it. But we need to get out of here before we get this thing wet. Woo! We were literally only out here for 30 minutes and it's already starting to rain again. I think that's it. I think we're calling it a day. We're gonna have to read inside. I am treating this thing like it's an average book, and it is not. Oh my gosh. We got it a little wet, but not too bad. Also, look at my bookmark. It's the girlies that I met at Shelves in the City. We're actually reading Katabasis together. I want to hear a little bit of their thoughts too, because we're sending each other voice notes back and forth anytime we finish a good chapter or something happens, and they already sent me a few. So I think once we get to that section, we should listen to some of their voice notes and see if we're feeling kind of the same vibe. But I will say this is Sarah's first R.F. Kuang book, and I feel like this is the perfect one to start with, because even though Poppy War is very good, it is so heartbreaking and heart-wrenching. It's a very hard book to start off with, and I think that Babel's really good too, but I hear that that's very slow, and it's actually Kinsey's favorite book of all time. So I already know she loves R.F. Kuang, and I know like when she's texting us, she's saying like, oh, this is already feeling like a 5 stars. So I think we're all having a really good time with it so far.
Later that same evening.
Don't be alarmed. I just wanted to tell you how it's going so far. It's really, really good. There are a few things that I wanted to note before I went to bed. First off, I really like how complex the main character is, Alice. She's like a good person, but she's very flawed, and she understands that, and she has very good like almost self-awareness, and it's funny to see her interact with this other person. She's going through hell in the 8 stages of hell with someone else, and they're not necessarily friends, so it's really cool to see their dynamic. And one thing I really do enjoy about their journey so far is the fact that R.F. Kuang isn't forgetting all the details. I feel like a lot of the times with great adventures and journeys and tasks like this, they kind of just go straight for the main hard-hitting points. But in this one, she's extremely detailed. For example, like when they were camping out on the first night while they were in hell, they had to go to the bathroom. And like her explaining that situation and how awkward it was so funny, and it added like humility and almost like realism to the story, even though it's obviously fiction, and I really enjoyed that. And while they're going through this journey, she's also talking about her academic career at Cambridge, and I thought that that was so fascinating. It added so much more depth to her as a character, because she was talking about how cutthroat the academic career of being in magic is, and I felt like it was very reminiscent to my experience in pre-med and biology and stuff like that, because we're all like vying for our professor's attention, and we need them to write us recs so we can have good jobs, and you're always thinking about the next few steps. You can never really enjoy your experience, and hearing her talking about this fake major in this way felt so realistic, and it really made me feel like I was falling into the story. It wasn't just me reading it from afar, it was me really into the story, and I really enjoyed that. And with all of these additional little facts and details, it's automatically making the story a little bit more slow paced, but not in a bad way. I feel like sometimes it can feel like it's being dragged out, or it's kind of being elongated for no reason, but I feel like all of these details are making this journey fun and really allowing us to unravel this complex character, which I'm enjoying, obviously. And the other thing that I didn't expect was the fact that she added illustrations. She's talking about the maps of hell, and they're trying to like navigate this complex world. Not only is she talking about their maps and their resources and how they're trying to navigate this system, but she's also showing us. I did not expect that at all. I've never read any of her books where there was an illustration, so I thought that that was a fun surprise and just like an extra additive for us to not only visualize what she's saying through her words, but also through clear illustrations, and I'm really enjoying it so far. But we're going to try again tomorrow because I did not get very far. It's a very dense book, but I'm enjoying every minute of it. See you in the morning, kids. It's funny you talk about how much of a glazed donut I look like, and it's not a compliment. This is what you got to look forward to. I don't believe in violence, but...
The next morning.
Good morning. I hope you slept well. I did not actually. I don't think I slept well because I kind of went to bed a little bit later than I was supposed to. My bedtime, yes, I still have a bedtime. My bedtime was 9:30, or usually is 9:30, but I didn't go to bed until 10:30, almost 11, because I couldn't put the book down. Little Miss Thing here has me in its clutches. But I'm happy to be here. I am. I'm super excited to continue reading this morning. We already did our morning routine. I went to the gym, worked out, did all the good stuff, took my vitamins. Now it's time to walk in. I'm super excited to do that. I feel like now we can really get most of the book done. I feel like we can get done in the morning, but we'll see how it goes. As y'all know, I listen to lo-fi while I'm reading. I always get questions about what I'm listening to, and I feel like I answer it pretty often, but just to let people know, I can't, I don't know if I'm an iPad kid, but I can't read without some type of audio. I need like some type of background music that makes me feel like I'm in the book. Like I need it. I can't read in silence. I remember when we went to the Texas trip and I was sleeping with Shaughnessy in the same bed. And so we were yapping before we were going to bed because we literally yap every single time we're in the same vicinity. And I remember like we were waking up the next day and she was reading and I was reading. And I needed music, like I needed to put something on. I was like, do you just read in silence? Like, do you just work in silence? Because we were reading and doing like work and admin stuff. And she could do it in complete silence. I was like, what is going on? And then she saw me and she's like, no, what is going on with you? And I just realized not everyone does that, which is very interesting. I thought this was normal, but it was just really cool to see like other people's processes. What I think I'm going to listen to now is some dark academia lo-fi background music, BGM, if you will. Yeah, I'm cool. Also, anytime I feel like I don't look like my best, I always put these glasses on and it makes me feel marginally better. Watch this. Look at this. Wait for it. Wait. Just give me a second. Ka-chow. I look like an intellectual, right? Yeah. I'm gonna be the coolest grandma. Wait till I actually need them, because I'm gonna be like this all the time. Let me see here. Let's see. I like this one right here. Y'all see that? You're studying in a haunted library with ghosts. Music to... You're studying in a haunted library with ghosts. Music for relax, read, write, dark academia. Okay, so it wasn't me. It was written weird. I have been reading all day. This is a 536 page book and we are on page, I believe it's like 335. We're on page 335, the beginning of chapter 22, and it is so good. Before I start talking about all of my, I guess, revelations of the book and thoughts on the book, I do want to share some of my friends' thoughts and revelations because they did send me their voice notes, and there are some that I listened to that I could not agree with more. But just to give you some context, with this book, again, Alice and Peter, her companion, they both go to Cambridge and they both go to the same school, and they're both looking for their professor, and you get more information on both Alice as a whole and the complexities of her character, as well as Peter and their relationship, tumultuous relationship with their professor. And as they go through the different levels of hell, it's like pride, desire, greed, vanity, all of these things, right? And as they go through the different levels of hell, they're trying to figure out where their professor is going to be and why, because he wasn't that great of a person. And the more you read the book, you realize why and how complex their relationship was with him. So with that context, I do want to play some of their voice notes for you just so that you can see how they're thinking about the book and those different aspects, and then I can share my own thoughts because I wrote down a ton of notes. I highlighted, tabbed, underlined so many things because R.F. Kuang's mind and the way that she can break down simple human emotions that you can't even put words to is quite literally profound. Now, I do want to start with Kinsey because Kinsey said two really important things that I could not agree with more, and I do want to speak to those things.
As for the format of this book, it's very quest oriented, so we have two characters with clear destination in mind and clear stops along the way, and in this case it's the courts of hell, so it gives like the reader a really structured idea of what the book will entail, and I personally love a quest mission vibe.
I will agree with that too. I didn't realize in this book honestly, going into this book, I didn't really know how she was going to journey us through this entire thing. I did know that it was going to be a portion of it, but at the beginning of this book, I genuinely thought that them going through hell was going to be maybe about half of the book or so, and I'm already past like the halfway mark. But as I'm going on, I'm realizing how detail-oriented she is and how it's more about their relationship and their back and forth and their mental states and their almost viewpoint of life and certain aspects of academia in general than it is about the actual journey through hell, because it's allowing us as the reader to get little snippets of the characters and what has brought them here in the first place rather than their experience in hell, even though she gives you just as much of that as well. It's almost like a subplot on its own just to kind of understand these very complex characters as well.
Court of hell that descends deeper and deeper into extreme sin, basically. Like the more intense the sin, the farther down the court they go. And so I really liked the quest aspect, and I think because on like literally page 5 we're jumping into hell, like no ifs, ands, or buts, no hi, how are you, it's hell immediately.
That's true.
Like it is necessary that we have some time jumping as well to give us more context of history and like what brought them there into that moment. And so you're learning more as you go. And so I think the courts of hell, knowing those courts, you slowly get more insight into their past and their professor, like why they're in hell, why are they coming to save this professor that it seems no one even likes. And you slowly get more insight and you're slowly like deducing where is this professor going to be, which court is he in, how grave were his sins. And so I really liked that structure because they meet a certain court and then you learn something about him that's like, oh, he's done worse or whatever. There's also discussions of like consent and what that looks like, especially with Professor Grimes, who is in a position of power to manipulate and take advantage of people. And so the more you learn about this professor, the more you're questioning why they're trying to find him, what court is he going to be in, and it just informs their quest along the way.
That was one thing I really loved about this book. I hate when an author kind of spells out everything for the reader. I hate when they can't trust us with the knowledge that we can figure it out on our own, or that we're a little bit smarter than they give us credit for. And R.F. Kuang does not hold your hand at all. She tells you the story in a way where you're figuring it out on your own. The way that she did that in this book is the fact that we would go through a certain court or a certain situation in hell, and then something would happen, something super important to the plot would happen. And the way that she would explain it is not saying, well, this happened because this, and this. No, instead she'd flash back into an experience they had at Cambridge or an experience they had together or with the professor, and then let you deduce on your own why it is that they made this decision or why this came to pass in the present tense, which I really loved. I thought that was very clever and a great way to give the reader information without spelling it out for you, which is so annoying oftentimes. But there is something else that Kinsey said that I really wanted to make note on because it's so prevalent in the book.
And let me just re-emphasize, we're switching gears a little bit to Peter and Alice's love story. Obsessed with them. When we learn some of their backstory, and on page 206, this is what I'm so obsessed with about academic rivals to lovers, because they are so like working to the bone, studying late nights, just this shared like silliness, giddiness when you get into the late hours and just feel a little delusional. And Alice is beginning to feel like she is being known, and the way she recognizes that she might be falling in love is being observed and feeling discovered and feeling very known. And I thought that sentiment was so pure and wholesome because I really relate to that. So Alice feels very like loved and understood when Peter's able to make observations about her, and she's able to feel like these little minute tendencies or quirks or mannerisms she has are recognized by another person, and there are things that maybe she didn't even realize she was doing, but just him being able to pick up on those things, just the giddiness of feeling observed and safe, especially when you're vulnerable. Chef's kiss, gorgeous, stunning, perfect in every way. I'm obsessed with that.
Agree. I wanted to say that too. Like, as you grow and go throughout the story, you realize like they have a very complex relationship, and seeing them kind of hate each other, but not necessarily hate each other. It's more contempt and more hate that is really truly fear. It's masked by contempt, but really it's fear and hurt throughout the years. And as you learn more about them, you learn why, you know, their relationship is so rifted and there's so much friction in between them. And the fact is, underneath all of that, like armor, mental armor to protect yourself from the other person because you've hurt each other back and forth over time, there's just a pure love there and a pure sense of safety. And they allude to it a lot of times throughout the book. And whenever they're vulnerable or they've gone through something super tumultuous together and they feel like a moment of just vulnerability and honesty, you get to see those little chinks in their armor and see them be honest with each other and see them be like super transparent with their feelings. And that was so beautiful. I think R.F. Kuang is doing a wonderful job of like explaining just the minutiae of human experience, of human emotion. We're so complex and we're so multifaceted, so complex about certain emotions and hiding certain emotions, not wanting to feel certain emotions, pretending that certain emotions simply don't exist when they in fact do. And the different ways they manifest when you try to hide them is just so wonderfully done in this book because you feel so seen. There's so many things where Alice, the main character, she does something and you're embarrassed and you're frustrated with her, but then you realize like, I see why she would do something like that. The way that she's grown, the way that she grew up, what kind of stressors she's dealing with in her life, I understand why she would do something like that. Even me in a past life, in a certain way, I would have thought or done something in that way. Even though I'm not proud of it, I understand where she's coming from type of thing. And the way that they're not just black and white, like good person, bad person, but just a complex person in general is just such a beautiful thing because I feel like that's obviously more realistic. And another thing that I really want to mention too is that this book really touches on the idea of memory, the idea of friendship and relationship outside of romance. It's very, so far, 330 something pages in, there's very little romance. It's like an idea, a hint of romance. It's not actually romance. The way that she just balances all of these different emotions and ways that you can connect with a person and explains them so thoroughly is just so brilliant to me. It just leaves you as a reader like really contemplating things and really doing an over analysis of your own life and your own relationships and seeing where things click for you and where things maybe don't click for you or where things are where you've like never even thought of it in that way type of thing. And I love a book that makes you think. I love a book that makes you like reconsider things that you almost thought were facts in your life and look at them through a different lens. And she is doing a fantastic job with that. I am loving these two main characters as a journey through hell, getting to know each other, breaking down each other's walls, trying to see why they are the way that they are, why they've hurt each other before. And it's just all such an interesting, complex story between these two people. I did not think that Peter, her academic rival, was going to be important whatsoever. I honestly thought he was just a backdrop, just something of a nuisance in the beginning, but he is very much prevalent throughout the story. And just reading this throughout the day, getting to know these people, breaking down pieces of their memories and flashbacks, putting them together in my own mind. Like she is allowing me as the reader to put these pieces together to figure out who Peter is, who Alice is, and their relationships with Professor Grimes, the professor that they're trying to retrieve from hell. And it's wonderful. I am having such a fun time. And Kinsey, by the way, she did read Babel, and that's her favorite book of all time. And she was talking about how the magic system in here is very reminiscent to the magic system in Babel. Because in Babel, the magic lied within the translations. But here the magic lies within the paradoxes within the book. So if A and B is true, then C is not, or something like that. And in that effect, and that's where the magic lies. And it's so interesting because I personally have not read Babel yet. And so I've never seen magic in such a almost realistic way. And it's really cool because she's using the names of real philosophers, Dante, Socrates, Aristotle, all of these names. She's using them and talking almost like absent-mindedly about the true things that they've done in their life and the true beliefs that they've had, but weaving it together with fiction. And that is so cool. Being able to blend both worlds to where I, as the reader, don't know what's true and what's not unless it's obvious. Like no one's drawing chalk pentagrams and going into hell. But it's just so cool that she's meshing both of the worlds, because if you let yourself, you can almost believe that this is something that could be true. And I just love the delusion of it all. It's just so fun. It's such an interesting world. I've never read a book like this, and I am having a grand old time. Now, I will tell you, it is 10:30 p.m. I've been reading this book since 9 a.m. this morning, and I'm still 200 pages away from the ending. So we've got a lot to do. I'm not going to bed until we finish this book. So I don't know what that means for a bedtime, but but we are going to continue to trudge along. I'm having a wonderful time. It doesn't even feel like work, but I know I will get very tired soon. So I do want to listen to Sarah's thoughts on the book so far. I love picking their brains and like seeing their thought process and what stuck out to them in the book, because for Sarah, obviously, she's never read anything from R.F. Kuang, so getting her perspective is always so fun. But Kinsey, she is like an R.F. Kuang native. She knows her work, and she's one of her favorite authors as well. Okay, these are Sarah's thoughts so far.
Okay, so I finished chapters 2 and 3. I am loving how fast this book is moving. Like, I'm loving how fast-paced everything is going, because I feel like it's very similar to all of you Blake books, like I said before, where you kind of leave them feeling smarter and dumber than you did before.
I agree with that.
But I think with those kind of books, if they're fast-paced, the overload of information doesn't seem as daunting, and it makes it like more enjoyable. So I'm enjoying the fact that like chapter 1, they're in hell. Chapter 2, they're seeing I don't want to spoil, I'm not trying to spoil, I'm not going to spoil, but things are happening already.
Yeah.
And I'm loving that about it, because my attention span, me and her, we don't get along very well. And we're both loving this, so.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I feel like the book immediately jumped into the story. Like, at first we were at Cambridge, and a second later we were in hell. It was so immediate. It was literally like within the first 5 pages or so. And then after that, after she established what she wanted to accomplish in the beginning, which was introduce Alice, introduce Peter, and a little bit of their rift in their current dynamic, then after that she slowed down and kind of introduced the concept of them being in hell, why they're in hell. And then throughout the chapters, we're going through that journey, and slowly but surely, I can't speak today. Slowly but surely, she pulled back the layers of each of these people and their dynamics together, and it's just been lovely ever since. We have to stop yapping though, because I am so afraid of how long this is going to take me to read, and it's already 10:30, like I'm saying. We have 200 pages left. It's 536 pages. We're on page 335.
Never back down, never what?
I'm not scared. You are. Wait. Okay, before I let you go though, there is one thing I want to read to you, because she got a gold little tab here. This is the only gold one, and it literally stuck out to me. I could not believe it. This is how good the writing is. This is what you're in for. You're in for a little treat. So here she's talking about how we grow as people over time, and how sometimes you can look back at your life and you're not even like close to who you used to be. And the only similarity to who you used to be is like almost adjacent to you being as similar as a sibling from like your old self. So me 10 years ago is not the same person I am today. And my only relevancy to that person or similarity to that person is in the way that you are relevant or similar to your siblings. And she takes that concept and tries to apply it to the idea of love in any capacity, but here specifically in romantic love. And if you could constantly reinvent yourself, cut away the parts of you that ashamed or hurt you, then how could you ever come to really know someone else? Were people all just living paradoxes, keeping up an illusion just long enough to survive contact with others? Were people then all a series of lies in the end? And if that were true, then what difference did it make what history you had, what love you've shared? That staircase was gone, the planks had reassembled, and the soul you had come to know was a newly crafted fiction. And so perhaps it was entirely possible, common even, for you to look into the eyes of someone you've been falling in love with, someone you had spent every waking moment with, whose breath sounded as familiar as your own, and fail to recognize them at all. R.F. Kuang! Kuang, please stop. It's too much. Literally, how perfect is this? When I tell you I highlighted, underlined, circled that section, and there's just so many more good lines like that. So many. I'm having such a wonderful time. But shut up. I'm tired of you talking. We need to read before it's too late to comprehend R.F. Kuang. So let's get going. It is currently 4:16 in the morning, and I just finished Katabasis. I am exhausted. I stayed up all night reading it, and it was so insane. It's one of the craziest stories I've ever read. It was so beautiful, so complex, so many topics were touched upon, and I literally almost cried at the end. I have no words. I cannot believe I just read this. It's quite literally one of the most unique books I've ever read. I don't know if I would give it a 4.5 or a 4-star. It's incredible though, and it's definitely going to be worth the read when it comes out. And the last few topics really got to me and really resonated with me because the entire book is about your own mortality and kind of going through the stressors of life and what's the purpose of life almost, and like the beauty in it outside of your own stressors and your own conflicts. And at the end, she comes to a conclusion, and it just was so beautifully done. And just seeing them go through so many trials, so many things. There were so many surprises in this book. I was scared, shocked, worried about these characters often throughout this entire book. And the ending literally almost made me cry. Like, I can't. I'm just so in awe of what I just read. It felt like a crazy movie. You know what it reminds me of? It's one of my favorite movies. My brother thinks it's an insane movie, like not in a good way, but I think it's one of the best movies. It's called The Pan's Labyrinth. I've mentioned it before, and it's kind of a dark movie, but it's really beautiful in its essence. And it's very like almost parallels this in a weird reminiscent way. Like, I don't know why it just kept reminding me of that, and almost to like The Spirits and Spirited Away. And it was just such an incredible, such a creative read. It mixed dark academia with a little bit of love, with an adventure, with this huge task they had to go through, going through hell, all the stages of hell together, trying to make it out. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I just read this. 540 pages, and it took me so long. I cannot believe I stayed up all night reading this, but it was a good time. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this entire time. I'm quite literally going to bed. I usually wake up throughout the week at 4:30. I would be waking up in 10 minutes right now, and I'm going to bed right now. Yeah, so I love y'all so much. Thank you for watching. Please continue to like and subscribe. I highly recommend reading this book. Thank you again to my friends who are reading it with me, Kinsey and Sarah. I will link their channels down below as well. And that is all for me. I love you guys. Bye.